We'll start it off with a gentleman who played Maximilian Veers. He led the Empire's attack on Hoth, commanding the AT-AT Imperial Walkers in The Empire Strikes Back. He was also in a James Bond movie. He was also in an Indiana Jones movie. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Julian Glover.
Woohoo! Hi, everybody.
Welcome, sir.
General Maximilian Veers, please.
Oh, I have to... I didn't realize we were going to be so formal. Oh, all right, General.
Yeah, we got a salute.
All right. Next up, I don't even know this guy's rank, but he was in the rebellion. Nien Nunb, and I practiced that all night. I've seen him in so many films, and he was brought back in the new trilogy, starting with The Force Awakens. He has also been an assistant puppeteer to Frank Oz on the performance of Yoda. So from Return of the Jedi on, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in Mike Quinn.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Seth. Hello, there's Keith there. Hello, Keith. How are you doing? Yeah, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. What a great thing this is going to be. I can't wait. Who's next?
Oh, okay. We'll get right to it. Let's welcome in Gold Leader himself. He played Butch John Vander in Star Wars. He was also in Superman 2. Ladies and gentlemen, Angus MacInnes.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing?
How
you doing,
sir?
folks? Hope you're okay. Nice to see you, Seth.
Now you're in the rebellion, so do I have to be so formal as I do with General Veers? I gotcha.
Just call me sir. That'll be cool.
We'll get right on that.
I'm gonna get knighted one of these days.
All right, let's bring in the rest. Here we have Biggs himself. He was in Star Wars: A New Hope. Biggs Darklighter. He was also in Batman, the 1989 movie. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in Garrick Hagon.
No, that's Paul Blake. Oh, Garrick, how you doing? No.
Oh, he's gone. He's back. Come back.
Where's Garrick? Ah, there you are. No. There you are.
All right.
Garrick's welcome. I'm here.
You get what you pay for, don't you, basically? Yeah.
All right. He's in.
No.
Stop playing with the buttons here. Let's welcome in Greedo himself. We can find out who shot first in real life. Paul Blake, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! Hey, Paul. Hello there.
Hello, Seth. You've just woken me from my afternoon nap. What's going on?
Well, I hope we can keep your attention for the next 40 minutes or so.
Certainly.
And, you know, it's funny. We've been talking about all the new films as much as the old films. And there's folks here from the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. Our next and our final guest here today played Goss Tours in The Force Awakens. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in Keith DeWinter.
Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Hey. Where are you?
Hey! Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Now you got your earphones off.
Hey, what?
Oh, you were also in The Last Jedi as well, weren't you?
I was in The Last Jedi as well, yeah.
And Rise of Skywalker, correct?
No, I wasn't in The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Would you like to be?
Yeah, maybe insert me in there.
You're in there.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, should we be wearing these?
Not on virtual, but you have a Star Wars one, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, life gets stranger and stranger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, we can start there, but before we do, I want to tell everybody, let everybody know in the chat rooms of Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube where you're watching from, because we get viewers from all over the world, and it's really fun to see where everybody's actually from. But to the group, we'll start off with the group. How is everybody? I'm assuming that during this pandemic, you're all healthy and anxious to be working again, but for the most part, you're all taking care of yourselves?
Well, how long you got? Oh, my lumbago. But yeah,
We're all okay. So far, we're lucky, haven't we? We're lucky as long as you keep out of the way of other people.
Well, I'm trying all the jobs going now. I'm trying everything.
The world would be so great if it wasn't for people.
True enough.
I think I spent the whole time trying to get on screen.
Punch the button.
It's a very handsome picture of Garrick.
It could be worse, though. He could have had something really bad on the screen, and that would have been a real rough go.
You're back again, Garrick. We can see you now.
Now freeze. Don't move. Don't move.
Don't touch the screen.
Don't touch anything.
Whatever you
Guys,
do.
when we talk about the legacy of these films and just how iconic they are, and obviously the newer films have led to such a resurgence with a younger generation, but these films all stand the test of time, and it's part of the popular culture. These are iconic. It's an iconic genre. What goes through your mind when you think of what Star Wars has meant to just modern entertainment?
I think. Can I talk?
Sure, Julian, go. I was thinking Julian should go first.
I'm absolutely staggered every time we do those things called conventions, which we've all forgotten about, by how many young people come along and they know us old people from the first three. And without the first three having been so wonderfully good, the rest of them would not have happened. But however, the first three were good. And so there's an extraordinary legacy which is going on, which I can't see this franchise ever stopping. It can go on as long as people go on making it as high a standard as they are now.
And as long as people's imagination keeps going.
Yeah. That's what I feel.
Keith, what do you think about the legacy? And you were in the newer films, so you saw how big they were and how scrutinized they were.
Well, I mean, obviously, I remember seeing the original Star Wars when I was a wee kiddie. I'm only in my 20s now, and it was just an amazing film. Something I'd never seen before, and something that certainly changed my perspective on film watching for the rest of my years. And if anything, it's what really pushed me to become an actor even more. I was watching something that I want to be a part of, and to know this stage now that not only do I do acting, I'm actually in the franchise that I remember seeing from being a kid. Something that has changed the face of entertainment as we know it now.
It's
fair enough.
Mike, what about the idea that when you were involved in the original trilogy, and then who calls you to come back, and who says, wait a second, we're going to bring this character back, but we have to bring in the guy who created that character?
Yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, certainly to follow on from your last question, Star Wars certainly is a timeless thing, and there's sort of two sides to it all. One is the fact that they created this whole genre and invented a lot of the effects that got used on so many movies afterwards. But the other side of it is it actually inspires people to create and to act and to get into the industry or to learn cinematography and lighting and writing and that kind of thing. So there's that element of it. And I totally forgot what you just asked me. Well, about the coming in again on the new trilogy. Okay, onto that one. So yeah, I mean, I always wanted to come back as Nien Nunb, and when I heard that he was going to be potentially a part of, or at least I knew this was going to be 30 years later, so I knew that Nien Nunb would potentially still be around, in the with all the other characters. So I actually set about trying to make sure that they knew I was still alive, and that kind of thing. So I actually built a web page saying who I was, what I'd done in the past, and what I could offer in the future. And I was working on a project with Thomas Dolby, who did She Blinded Me with Science.
Sure.
The 80s singer pop guy. So he was a good friend of JJ Abrams. So I said, do you mind just sending this little email with this link to my website to JJ? And, and he said, sure, no problem. Next day he said, done. Within 2 weeks later, I got a phone call. However, I think because they, brought back Tim Rose as well, and the original voices and all that kind of thing, they probably were going to get hold of us anyway, but I wasn't going to leave anything to chance. And then, my friends, it's a very good lesson. Be proactive in trying to be involved and to shape your career and do the things that you want to do. Don't sit on your back waiting for the phone to ring. sit on your back. Okay, or your front, or your
That's the
side.
new one.
Don't sit on anyone else's back for that matter. But anyway,
We just need fabulous makeup artists. That's all.
Yeah, right.
Maybe
Yeah.
surgeons. Maybe
Yeah.
surgeons would do it.
I've tried that out.
It's-
I've been down that road. It didn't do much for me. I've had the full job, and here I am.
And a lot of you have action figures that have been made, and you all own your action figures. I know Keith does. I
Yeah,
know Keith
right.
does. But you all have. There you go. And I knew they would be at the ready.
yeah.
That's me.
No, I have. Oh, he brought them. They're
Pew,
good.
pew, 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 pew. Pew,
But
pew,
I'll
pew.
tell you, when I was a kid, the first one that I got, I'll be perfectly honest. I had Greedo. Greedo
Yeah.
was the first one, and I didn't
Good
get to
choice.
pick that. That was what was in the toy store. Greedo was everywhere.
I remember
Well,
I
they're
remember-
everywhere.
But you paid me actually, Seth, for that. It was worth every penny of it, I think.
I tried to
I've
pump
still
them
got
up right
that
there.
bounce, by the way.
Yeah, but Paul, what do you think about the fact that they keep changing that scene? And you
Oh,
didn't
well-
do some of the close-ups, but my God, has there been a scene that's been changed? There's like 6 different versions now.
The who shot first scene, yeah, I know. Who makes these decisions to do? Well, I suppose it's George, really, but yeah, I mean, when I did the movie originally, way back in the dark ages in 1976,
Yay!
like some of the other guys on the panel here, I mean, we had no idea that we would be in the movie, that the movie would ever come out, because everything we'd seen in the UK from that point of view was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. If it was sci-fi, we hadn't seen anything of Star Wars pretensions before that. I mean, the only other movies earlier on in sci-fi, in the sci-fi genre, were things like The Shape of Things to Come and a couple of other films that had been done by foreign directors. So when Star Wars burst on the scene, we had no idea that we'd be in the movie, let alone that the movie would come out. So to actually have been in a scene that's been talked about for 40 years since we did it, it's quite extraordinary. And the other guys will bear witness to this as well, because each one and every one of their scenes in the original 3 movies are so iconic now that, I mean, everyone can repeat lines from them, let alone, the other pieces of the movies. So it's an extraordinary thing to have been in it, let alone in something that's talked about 40 years later. I'm sure they'll back me up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yes, it's very surreal.
The fans,
It's also really weird when they bring you back after 40 years and you're still the same age. And they put me in Rogue One, and I still haven't completely recovered from that sort of like, that's too weird. I mean, I can't get my head around it. It's like, I'm in these
Julian.
40 different years, It's bizarre.
Julian, you were going to say.
yeah, I was going to say roughly the same thing. At the very beginning of these Star Wars things, when it was just a thing called Star Wars and nobody knew what was going to happen at all, suddenly that film came out and it absolutely knocked our heads off. The very beginning of the film, when those planes came through all those rocks and things, and near to the rocks, and nothing like that had ever happened before. We'd seen lots of sci-fi, sort of space films, which were very inadequate, and you could see the joins everywhere. But suddenly we had something which was really real, which was set a million miles in the future or whatever. And that was what actually pulled us up by the bootstraps. And as you say, Paul, no way were we ever going to be in one of those. That was for other people.
I think most sci-fi movies that were made before Star Wars, if anything, were B-movie status. So that's what basically everybody was assuming what sci-fi was. And it wasn't until Star Wars came along that, like I said earlier, it changed the face of everything that we see with sci-fi in cinemas today.
Absolutely.
And, definitely, yeah.
And that's interesting, looking at talking about the sci-fi genre now. When I've done shows with some of the Star Trek, the original Star Trek guys, we've talked about that.
You have to put a nickel in a jar now. You can't say Star Trek on that. Yeah, I said, well, we wouldn't have had Star Wars had it not been for Star Trek, really. Which sort of paved the way in some ways for Star Wars. But then the guys said, well, we also wouldn't have had Star Trek had it not been for Star Wars, because then we got to make all the movies and it prolonged the life of Star Trek. So it all feeds into itself, in a wonderful way. If something's good, it just keeps on giving outward.
But Star Trek is not in the same league.
Don't tell me.
No variation anywhere there.
Absolutely.
Really sophisticated. The film like Game of Thrones has completely changed that particular genre.
Yeah,
it's so wonderfully done.
Absolutely.
I mean, I agree. There are some very good other sort of versions of this thing, but not what Star Wars does. And that's what knocked us, all us professional people, young actors then. We couldn't believe that this was happening with this particular genre, which had always been rather a jokey one beforehand.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right, Julian.
The thing was, when we first got the script, actually, it was mystifying, certainly to me. I mean, I had the whole script. I put it down in the dressing room, and I said, I don't know what's going on. See, what? And I remember feeling the same way when we arrived in Tunisia. That the three of us that went down there, Anthony Forrest and Koo Stark and we were all just giggling about it. We had no idea of the meaning of the whole thing. And now I think the lighting cameraman too felt the same way. He said, but he was doing a brilliant job already. But early on, it was a mystifying and kind of thrilling discovery.
Let's get some of the fans in there real quick. First of all, people are watching from the UK. They're watching from Oregon, California, South Carolina, Texas, Indianapolis, Brooklyn, New York, the Bronx, New York.
Wow.
Which, we're only going in the UK. We're only going countries, but we'll go boroughs of New York City, in the U.S., Louisiana, South Dakota, and France. Wow. People are watching from
France.
Wow. Let's get to some of their questions, and you guys can all chime in. Aaron writes us and says, "What's your favorite Star Wars movie you've been involved in, and why?"
Well, I'll tell you. Sorry, you were going to.
I'll start. My favorite. Empire Strikes Back, because I was in.
I was going to say A New Hope.
That's what I was going to say. A New Hope as well. I mean, the fact is, you were discovering everything in A New Hope, and it was exciting. And I thought, and the performances are great and fresh, and I think it's terrific.
But you're in the very beginning of the first one, aren't you, Garrick?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Were you the first human animal to be shown on that show? Riding those aeroplanes. I think you were. Fantastic.
Yeah, wonderful. For me, it would be Return of the Jedi, obviously, but also because I was 17 years old and I was a fan of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, loved Empire, was obsessed by Yoda, and Frank Oz's performance and the character. And the Empire Strikes Back was just a whole other film again. Star Wars was wonderful in its own way, but then Empire took it to some whole other level again. So walking into that final trilogy as a fan of as a 17-year-old and walking among the sets and seeing all the characters in their costumes again, and there's Jabba's palace and all the ships and stuff, and being able to walk around Dagobah at lunchtime hoping no one would catch me. I mean, what a wonderful thing, to walk into that environment already knowing that it's the biggest thing ever in the whole world, even bigger than Mickey Mouse.
6 years after, but Mike's story is 6 years after the first one, and Paul, you're in that cantina scene, and you don't have the reverence. You don't have the awe of the iconic cantina scene. It was just a set with a bunch of guys in costumes.
Yeah, but that's interesting you should say that, because, I mean, I remember it was all filmed at Elstree, the original A New Hope. And I remember walking out onto the one of the sound stages and seeing a mock-up of the Millennium Falcon, which was virtually just a couple of painted flats. But the lighting was so amazing that I thought, oh, this is pretty cool for what might be a B movie. And then, as you say, walking out into the cantina, which you could actually sit in the little booths and watch the other action. I mean, I watched Alec Guinness do his walk into the cantina with Harrison and Mark and come round, and I watched Kenny fall off that ramp that he fell times in that tin can as R2-D2, because it was pretty cool. Even then, you've got a sort of slight frisson that there might be something cool happening here, you know. But I think that was because the cantina then was the only real physical, knocked together set, you know. The other bits and pieces, like the mock-ups of the cannons from the ships and the gun turrets and all the rest of it of the Millennium Falcon, were great fun to play in, and we did. We played in most of them until people told us to sod off, basically.
That's what's so good about the Force Awakens, which is obviously, you know, my all-time favorite, besides Star Wars.
You're kidding. You don't say.
Because it was all about practical effects, and that's what it was. So you could walk out and you had these real sets. And I'll never forget walking out onto on the external shots that we did, and walking out and seeing the Millennium Falcon, which was 3/4 built, and it was just right in front of me. And I was expecting that to be green screen, but it wasn't. It was actually there, built right in front of me.
Right. Yeah,
well, that's cheating.
I walked up a ramp to go into the Millennium Falcon and fell off the back.
Hey guys, that stuff's just cheating, is what that is. That's cheating, because when everything that I did, we did it like a production line, and everybody got in the same cockpit, and we shot all this stuff. And I had no idea what a TIE fighter looked like. I didn't have a clue what an X-wing looked like. I didn't have what was a Y-wing. I was like, what is this? And so I didn't know what those things even looked like until we went and saw the first screening. And I thought that as soon as they appeared, I went, oh, cool. That's really nice. It was bizarre trying to imagine what was chasing you, because it was this TIE fighter. I didn't know what a TIE fighter was. No idea. They didn't show us anything. Well, I just walked in blind. It was you guys at least got to see stuff.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience when I was doing Battle of the Hoth. And I was up there in that thing. And I shot it, of course, on a gantry with a green screen behind me and a mock-up control panel, not the real one at all. And they shook me about a bit, and then and I did the scene rather badly. And it wasn't until I saw the film that I realized I was driving that giraffe. It amazed me.
The line of the panel so far.
Yeah, of course.
That's great.
We were making
also
it
getting
went along, you know.
Yeah,
I had Texas Instrument toy, and George said, "Just press a few buttons, you know. Look around. Make sure you're pressing them on two sides of the camera."
In addition to the countries and cities we said before, Australia. We're getting comments from Massachusetts, Texas, and Sweden. This one is from Scott, and it's specifically for Mr. Glover. Was the Darth Vader costume as intimidating as it looks? He's watching from Ohio.
It rather depends who's inside the Darth Vader costume. Sitting off stage before shots, it was just Dave Price with his head off. And so I was quite used to it not being very frightening. And then Dave Price put his head on, and it was quite frightening.
Yeah.
I would have said it's the other way around, but.
Yeah, good one, Mike.
Todd says, and this is for the group, do you have anything from the sets from the movies you were in?
I've got the Millennium Falcon outside.
I stole my gun
No way! The one that may not have shot Han Solo first.
The one that may not or may have shot Han Solo if I'd got a shot off. And I stole it because it was quite cool. All the original firearms in Star Wars in the very first movie, I don't know what happened later, but they were all little Mausers, which had genuine German guns, which had been doctored by the props department with little bits of plastic and to make them look like ray guns. And Harrison's was pretty cool, and mine was pretty cool. So I thought, after we finished filming, I thought, I'll pinch that. This is a cool reminder. And of course, in those days, you could have taken the entire set. I could have walked out with the entire set on my back, because they would have been only too happy to have got rid of it then. But no, I took this little gun home and I gave it to my kids to play with for a couple of years. And then one year, one of them snapped the front of the barrel and damaged it, and I threw it in the trash. Do you know that? I have away my kids' private education there some years ago. But yeah, that was the only thing that I took.
I don't know if we can be friends after this.
Out of it. When I finished shooting, the costume designer, John Mollo, said, "Do you want this?" I said, "What?" He said, "Your badge of rank."
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
Thanks very much. I now understand it's worth quite a lot of money. I'm
get it on eBay, Jules.
Well, anything screen used is highly desirable now, for sure. So if it's actually been on screen, people will pay a lot of money. All I have are bruises and bumps and fond memories.
Yes.
I can tell you a little yarn about that, which is actually about Indiana Jones, but it won't take long. You remember when I'm all melted off at the end, in order to do that, they made a plaster of Paris death mask for me, and they worked on that for all the machinery to do that sequence. And when I finished the film, the props said, "Do you want this?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll take it home." And I took it home and showed my wife, Isla. She said, "Oh, Christ, I'm not having that in the house." We were doing out the garage, and there it was. And I said, "Oh, look, here's it." And she said, "Oh, I can't stand the look of it, Julian. Put it in the bin." I put it in the bin. Well, I was offered a dealer about 8 years ago now in America, offered me $35,000 for it.
Oh my!
It's in some rubbish dump somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I'm now selling Keith de Winter on eBay. So any bids for Keith de Winter, we start at $5, and he is screen used. He's not quite as shiny as he used to be, but he's still worth something. So bids start at $5 for Keith de Winter.
You're going to see comments now in the chat room.
Yeah,
people are going to put their bids in.
My wife's offered $6.
Do I hear 7? No. Okay.
No, she's doing that now.
Well, yeah, apparently all the stuff that is being shot now is RDF tagged. So, I mean, RFD tagged. So, I mean, you can't get out of there with a Kleenex. You're gone. They got guys there that take care of that.
Yeah. It's so strange how things have changed, isn't it, Angus? I mean, we literally could have taken the entire set with us because they really did not care in those. And of course, sets were and still are expensive to store.
Yeah, that's right. I remember at Elstree Studios, we'd come in with it was either Great Muppet Caper or something, but you'd just finished filming Raiders of the Lost Ark there, and they had the 4 Anubis sculptures that were in the Well of Souls scene. Those, I think they were styrofoam and plaster, but they were just chucked in a skip outside one of the stages waiting to be towed away. I was like, if I could get that home on the bus, wouldn't that be so great? But, they just got scrapped. All these wonderful things that, they're iconic. Just thrown away.
Yeah. Well, one of our favorite convention organizers once said he'd found or got hold of a piece of my helmet. And I spent the whole convention having my picture taken beside this piece, spotlit. It was like the Shroud of Turin had suddenly come. Anyway, I was completely taken in for the whole thing. And in the end, it was revealed that he was a prop maker, this convention organizer. We all know him well. And it was a fake. And I was taken. For that day, I was taken.
Never mind. Remember when illustrious from sold 1-inch squares of the carpet.
Yes, from Titanic.
That's right. I think from Titanic, 1-inch squares of bits of the carpet from Titanic for something like $500 a time. Yeah. So beware, all you fans out there, what you're buying.
Yeah.
Clara writes us and says, "Who was your closest friend on the Star Wars set?" We can go around the room.
Oh, my best friend, my buddy. No, Mark, when he met me in the costume, where was it, Angels, he said, "Oh, you're my best buddy." And we were. It was great to have Mark there as a support, because he'd been on the set a few days more than me. And he was much younger, of course, but he was fully in charge. He knew what he was about. It was great to have him.
Mark had the line of social media for the month after the first U.S. presidential debate. He says, "That was the worst thing I've seen, and I was in the Star Wars holiday special." And I said, "There's nothing that can top that line." That was.
He's not often wrong, Mark, but he's wrong.
But it was so smart, just so smart. What about close friends that you had met? They don't have to be on this panel. Angus, Julian.
Well, I was a good friend of Richard Parmentier, and who played Admiral Motti and is no longer with us. And you know, I did Rollerball was the first picture I did, and he was on that, and I got to know Richard really well on that. And then when we ran into each other on, I think, one of the days in Star Wars, it was like, "Oh, how you doing?" And it was really nice. It's nice to touch base with other people that you've worked with and you have a good rapport with, because it sort of gives you a really sort of good kick. And it's like, oh, good, you know, you're part of the team. And I met a lot of guys on Star Wars that I'd worked with before in doing television and bits and pieces all around the UK. Thank you, darling. And so that, you know, that's it's really, I really enjoy when you turn a corner and there's somebody you worked with, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's really a nice thing to do.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of people bring up the fact that we were a bunch of American and Canadian actors over there, and we had worked together before. It was a kind of community, and it still is, I hope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
I didn't actually make any friends on it, but we were only on it a very short time, us lot. But Michael Culver was there, and I got to know him well. And I'm afraid I have to say that I got very friendly with Paul Blake.
I'm sorry about that.
No, be quiet.
Hey, he hasn't had his chance. I hope he says you.
I'm trying to be nice about somebody here, and he just is that thing. But of course, and I'd known Garrick from a very long time before, when we did the film of Antony and Cleopatra with Charlton Heston. And we knew each other really quite well by then. We worked a couple of times in the theatre together as well. So that was a very pleasant thing. And Ken Colley, of course, who was also another of us, our little group of generals and admirals and things. He was a really nice fellow, Ken. Once again, no longer with us, but very recent with him. So we've all got to go, haven't we?
Don't. Yeah, I think that's a pretty nice thing you say, actually, Julian, because it has been rather special being in this film, and we've known each of us throughout the years. We've come across each other at conventions and all the rest of it, and it's been a great growing little community, I think, and friendship, which has been charming. I think I got on really well with Mike Edmonds and Rusty Goff and all the little people who were on the original one, and still know Mike to this day and go and see him, all the rest of it. So I think it has become a rather special little community. But as you say, it's more working in the theatre. You sort of do a play and you might know someone for a couple of weeks and then bump into them in 2 or 3 years' time or something like that. But Star Wars has been rather special in that friendship thing. It's been pretty unique, I think. And like Angus, I knew Richard Le Parmentier and Mike Sheard very well. I'd worked with Michael, but I hadn't worked with Richard, but knew him very well over the years, and he was very naughty but utterly charming. Very, and enjoyed the company and got drunk with him on many an occasion, which I hope to do with these guys again very soon.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one thing that the events have done, is bringing the people that it's brought us. It brings us all closer together. We get to know each other better.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Keith too.
Yeah. I tried to make friends, but everybody just kept turning me away. And eventually I just followed Mike around, Mike Quinn, and he seemed to stay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a good influence, right?
Yes.
Come on, Keith. We love you.
But I love meeting everybody, especially obviously at conventions. It's great to meet new actors from the Star Wars films. One day again.
Yeah, one day. Yeah. As soon as they can. Don't forget, folks, if you're watching this live or if you're watching this later on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, don't forget to check out the paid exclusive experiences like the one-on-one private video chats. Can you imagine having a private video chat with any one of these gentlemen? Autographs, you can organize autographs, custom video, recorded messages. Just go in another browser. Don't leave our show here. Go in another browser, go to wizardworldvirtual.com, and you can sign up for all of those different things. And those guys will be having it in the next couple of days or so. And like I said, if you're watching us later on, just tell us how this thing ends. We can we have a couple more questions, a little bit more time. What about for the actors who portrayed non-humans? How did you portray them, and what were the prosthetics involved?
Well, mine were. I tried to portray Greedo by basically not bumping into the furniture and hoping. Thing after the shoot, but it was so primitive, the original masks for me. My costume was pretty easy. It was made of very light parachute silky material, so it was easy to move around in. And but the mask was done as a life mask in those days. You sat in a chair and had plaster of Paris stuck on your face for about an hour and a half, and then they put a rubber solution around that, and it hardened. And so they had the basis of the mask, which the modelers would then make the whatever creature it was. And by the time the designer and the original one, Sean, had got to my little bit in the movie, he made so many creatures that he had no idea how Greedo was going to turn out. In fact, Greedo didn't even have a name. And the night before, he had to make a decision. He saw an advert for a bird's eye bouncing pea, which was green. And that is the basis of Greedo's head and costume, was a bird's eye.
Which is true, because Phil Tippett showed it to me on Return of the Jedi, and he said, look inside here. It wasn't an old Rick Baker mask or something, or I don't know, but yeah. So it really, and I saw it really inside. It really was a converted pea costume, wasn't it?
That's right. So I am a bouncing.
Well, that's what you based your performance on, Paul.
Yeah, that's what I based.
Yeah, well, we all know, I mean, he should have gone for a mushy pea kind of thing, really, rather than an actual processed pea, but that's okay.
Incidentally, like some of the other guys, I found out at the university in the States that Greedo has been named after a newfound species of fish, which is called something like Greedoitus pectoralis or something like that. So now Greedo has not only
cream for that
iconic in a movie, he's transferred into the biological world.
I have a harbor about a kilometer from my house, and I walk down there to go to buy a fishmonger that on the harbor, and one of the boats in the water is called Greedo, and I laugh every time I see it.
Wow.
Well, I'm on it.
Well,
What about you, Mike? What are your costumes like these days? Much more sophisticated.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose mine's interesting because it's kind of originally Nien Nunb was a life-size hand puppet because it was the only way to get his mouth to move at the last minute, basically. He wasn't. He was a last-minute addition into the cockpit because Lando needed a co-pilot. So George picked out that head from the what I call the chorus line of background aliens and said, I want him. And then Philip Tippett was like, oh, he's going to have dialogue and his mouth doesn't move. What are we going to do? And we'll have to put an oxygen mask over his mouth. And I thought that's a bit rubbish. He's like, I'm a puppeteer. I can make him talk. And Phil loved that idea. So we fitted out the one of the masks and he said, show it to George. And we did a little film test and George said, that's great. And I said, hey, you could put little eye blinks in there, little eye mechanisms and wiggle his ears, which you see when he's going into hyperspace. You can see his ears wiggling a bit. Yeah. So it was a hand puppet. His language hadn't even been invented yet. The script just said he chatted a liquid alien language, and Lando has all these responses to it. Oh my goodness me, how we. This is ridiculous. So literally the day of the shoot, the morning of the shoot, I show up. George Lucas was directing that set scene because they were running a bit behind, and I think Mark Wand was directing the Rancor pits scene on another stage. So I actually literally had a pencil like this and wrote on my pages what I thought he would say in English, knowing that it would be dubbed later. All our stuff was post-dubbed pretty much. Yeah. So why can't I just say this in English? It's just flap, flap, flap. Puppets are the easiest thing to dub and loop. And George just said, he just looked up and said, yeah, that's fine. So I got to write my own dialogue, and that way it made sense for Billy D's responses as well. It was all logical stuff. So that was really, and I couldn't. Well, the cockpit was on a rocking gimbal, just like your X-wings were, and everything like that, of course. But because I was laying flat on my back with a TV monitor, so I could see what the cameras were seeing and working above my head, it was a bit like being in the hull of a ship. So I kind of got motion sick under there. I got a bit green, really. I thought I was gonna lose it for a bit, but I didn't. So then coming back, nearly 30 years later or whatever it is, on the Force Awakens, I actually have legs now, and because I could look through his eyes, because I had a radio controlled face with one of my puppeteer buddies out front. And, he talks to me in an earpiece, and so I could still have some sort of continuity with his thought processes. But I had legs without actually, having to be in one place anymore. So I felt more like I was integrated in with the cast more, because I could be placed anywhere in the set now, and I could walk around and fall over, of course, as one does. But but I kind of approached him very much the same, very much with a very puppet sort of pose, clean. He's almost the opposite of an alien, of a normal creature alien, where creatures now are all very much sort of this, sort of, I'm a creature, I'm going to do all this stuff. And for me, I saw him like as the opposite. He was just like this little human going, oh, hello. And, oh, I don't like that. Oh, what do I? It was very, very kind of posy and animation-y almost, and puppety, and almost the complete opposite of any other alien in Star Wars. So that was my approach to Nien Nunb, the end.
Excellent.
I have something to say. Sure. I've just had a message. Ken Colley is still with us.
Thank you. I have been worried about that, Julian, all the way through.
Yeah, me too. I was really sweating.
A very, very, very definite piece of information and I tried to contact him, but anybody who knows him knows he's uncontactable.
Yeah. I'm very glad you said that, because I've been thinking about it.
And thank goodness. Welcome back, Ken.
And also, contrary to popular belief, Keith De Winter is also still with us. So,
Mike Quinn.
Very nice. Well, folks, we are just about out of time. We have fans watching all around the world. They want to see you guys at live conventions. Just promise you'll come to live conventions. But we always end these panels with a shout out, with a final message to all the fans who are watching this both live and later on. And they have adored these Star Wars films for so long. Keith, why don't we start with you? What's a message for all the fans, just as we kind of say goodbye here?
Keep safe, stay happy, and may the Force be with you.
Very nice. Garrick?
I want to say how much you've meant to me, all you guys out there, all the way through from the beginning of this saga. It's been really a pleasure to meet you all.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. It's been extraordinary the way the fans have actually stuck with us and gone on encouraging us, and we feel as happy about you as I hope you do about us.
Here, Julian. That's a great thing to say.
Good one. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I'd like to say thank you to everybody, and I hope we see you sooner than later. I hope somebody comes up with a magic medicine and fixes this shit and gets us out of this. Yes.
Yeah. Same to you, all the fans out there. Thank you so much for the last 45 years, and don't forget, he got first.
And also I guess that leaves me last. Thank you very much for every single one of you. You've all been so kind and amazing, and you're all part of this too now, because when you tell us what you like and don't like, that actually feeds into what we do. So we now have this, everything's more connected now. It's not just those people up on the screen from 100 years ago. We're all connected. We're all part of this thing now. So thank you for that, and for bringing life and giving us all life again and again over these years, and be good to each other and be kind to each other. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Yeah. We're not 100, Mike.
We've got to know
details.
We're working on it.
Great stuff.
Well, gentlemen, it has been an honor just to listen to these stories and to hear from you guys, and to say we all love Star Wars. I'll speak on behalf of everyone watching this thing. These films are absolutely amazing, and you can watch them again and again and again and again, even the newer ones. Julian Glover, Angus MacInnes, Paul Blake, Garrick Hagon, Keith DeWinter, and Mike Quinn. Ladies and gentlemen, the cast of Star Wars. My name is Seth Everett. Don't forget wizardworldvirtual.com, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Aaron Ashmore, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe like now. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.